Hey everybody! The purpose of this video is to get you guys some solutions to the exponential regression quiz on financial investments. Looks like we're doing a Johnson & Johnson stock investment of $1,000. So, I mean, I just happened to look at this at a certain point in time, and they were earning 3.6% interest in Johnson & Johnson stock. So that's good. So you stick $1,000 in the first year. How much do you have after 1 year? Well, you maintain your initial investment, assuming that they continue to pay 3.6% interest, and then you earn 3.6% more, which makes you at $1,036. And then the next year, if you added $36 more, you'd be at $1,072, but you're actually at $1,073.30. And that might make it interesting. It's like, oh, it's more than $36, and you'll notice there's a pattern. It's always a little bit more than $36, and not only is it more than 36, it's more than whatever added amount got added the year before. And that's the first question: is how can that be? How can you earn more interest each successive year? Hopefully you see why. What you're taking 3.6% of each year is getting larger. You first take it of 1,036, and then you take it of 1,073, and then you take it of $1,111.94. So since you're taking the same percent of a larger value, the percentage itself left that you're adding into your principal has to be getting larger. So that's how that can be. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. And then you can hopefully you work through this little bit here. And then there's a pattern, which we discovered here, which is totally rad, and hot damn indeed. And how much would you have in your account after 10 years? So hopefully by now you're realizing that the number of years is the variable. That's what makes it exponential. So after 10 years, assuming that we keep our 3.6%, which of course is never a good idea to assume that past performance indicates future results, but sometimes in some bank accounts you can actually do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you would have. You'd have $1,000 times 1.036 to the 10th power, not 11th, 10th power. And you would have about that much money in there, $1,424.29, rounded off to the nearest cent. Cool. So that's how much you'd have it for 10 years, assuming that you're making 3.6% each year. All right. And then it says, how long will it take our investment to double in value? So I want 1,000 to become 2,000. I give you a hint. I tell you to graph it. It's probably the easiest thing to do rather than trying to futz with it algebraically, unless you guys understand how to do logarithms. So let's go with graphics, which always help. $2,000 here. Why did I type 2111? I meant to type 2000. And then down here, the function is 1,000 times 1.036 to the x power. Now, if you just hit graph, you're going to get whatever window you were playing with last. So I think we should go to window, and let's mess with this. I'm going to go 0 to 30 for 30 years. So we're going to let this thing sit in there for 30 years. Y min, 0's fine. Y max, I know I want that to be $2,000, so I tend to like my window to go a little bit higher than what I'm looking for the intersection of. I don't want to go with that right there. Let's take a look at the graph here. Okay, there it is right there. There's my value of my account growing exponentially, and that right there is where they intersect. So let's do a second trace and intersect. Yes, 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 and it looks like it's about 19.6, about 20 years. About 20 years. It will take about 20 years for your investment to double from $1,000 to $2,000. So that's that one. And then the very last one, I tell you to Google the rule of 72 and explain how it relates. The rule of 72 is a pretty slick little thing. If you take the number 72 and divide it by the interest rate, whatever account whatever percentage rate your account is earning, if your account stays at that rate, the number you get out as a result is how many years it will take for whatever amount of money you put in to double. Now that was a lot of words, so let's do the math first. First off, 72, having a hard time typing the name, divided by 3.6%. Oh my goodness. 3.6%. Enter. 20. What that tells me is it will take me 20 years to double my investment. Now you just calculated that back at here at number 3. But the thing about it is this never asked you to go from $1,000 to $2,000, and that's because it doesn't matter how much money you put in. If you put $1 in, 20 years later you'd have $2. If you put $5 in, 20 years later you'd have $10. If you put $1 million in, 20 years later you'd have $2 million. It's regardless of how much money you actually put in, it will take you 20 years to double your investment, which is pretty slick. If anybody ever wants to see the algebra behind that, I can explain it to you pretty quickly and pretty convincingly. It has to do with logarithms, which is the inverse function of exponentials, but I'd be happy to show it to you if you want. It's one of my favorite little catch-em rules in mathematics. It helps you understand bank accounts pretty well, like where you should put your money if you're going to put it in for a long period of time. So anyway, that's that, and I hope that helped you understand the quiz a little bit better. We'll see you in class.